Welcome to Wesley Impact. Today I'm going to continue to share from the book of 1 Peter. In our Wesley Mission story, we're going to highlight one of our programmes designed to help carers take some much-needed time out. And we talk about the release of our latest research report on how best to support families with loved ones with disabilities. Maxwell from Wesley Mission is a General Manager of Child, Family and Disability Services and joins us to tell us a little more of that area. Maria, it's good to have you on the show.
Lovely to be here, Keith.
Look, Wesley Mission's work with disability, our Wesley Disability Services, is quite vast and varied. Give us a taste of the kind of things we do.
We do a broad range of work with people with disabilities, Keith. It's a real whole-of-life approach that Wesley Mission has. So we provide services, for example, for parents that have a child with a disability. We provide them with respite so they can take a well-needed break. We also have day programs, such as our life skills programs, where people with a disability can come and learn new skills or socialise with others, and sometimes just give their carers a break. We have supported employment programs that give people the opportunity to engage in meaningful work and build relationships in the workplace, and of course earn some extra money, which is always a great thing.
And that meaningful is an important part of that sentence, isn't it? Because it's not just looking after people, we're trying to empower them with some kind of purpose in their lives.
Absolutely, and they can learn new skills. There's a variety of work that they can be engaged in. And yeah, it's very much a meaningful workplace.
Tell us a little bit more about that children's respite and that whole area.
Well, last year we supported about 180 families in our children's respite program. It really is important. There's a lot of families out there that are doing it really tough. One gentleman, for example, had 3 young children with autism, and for whatever reasons his wife had decided to leave the relationship and he was just desperate for a break. With our Wesley Children's Respite program, we could actually come alongside him and support him to care for those children so that he could attend to some of the other matters in his life.
Oh, so many of us live our lives, we can't even begin to imagine what it's like to have the challenge of one of those contexts, but 3 in one family. It's marvellous, isn't it, that exists, you know. Community living programmes, accommodation services, all those are important.
Absolutely. Our accommodation services actually provide a family home for people with a profound disability, and often many of them end their years in these homes, and so Wesley Mission becomes their family, and the people that they live with become almost like their brothers and sisters. So it's a really important work, and it's important for those that maybe have families that can't care for them, can't provide that intense level of care that these people with very profound disabilities need.
And when we say profound disabilities, one of the things that, Maria, that I've been conscious of while I've been with Wesley Mission is the fact that some people have to face multiple challenges in their lives, don't they? It's not just one thing, it's multiple challenges.
Absolutely, and I think there's a real difference between those people that were born with a disability and also then those that have acquired a disability through a critical incident in their life. For example, in our Wesley Woodward program, one of our clients that reside in that home, he was actually living a very meaningful life as a estate manager with children and suddenly suffered a brain aneurysm and needed then a high level of support that his family couldn't provide. So through that program, Wesley Mission was able to come alongside him and provide him with that high level of support while he still kept connected with his family.
Now, you worked originally for Wesley Mission, but you've come back to work for us, and for the last 9 months you've held this senior role. What do you like most about the work and the context of your work?
Well, I think Wesley Mission has a long history of providing care for people in Australia, and you know, it's been around for more than 200 years, so it's well established, and it's a Christian organisation. So being a Christian, of course, that really appealed to me, to have the opportunity to really look at how do we minister and care for people in more of a holistic sense. So that was something that was very important to me personally. And
we're not afraid of using that word minister because we see it as something that's real. But I'm going to carry on in conversation with you in just a moment. But before we move on, I'd like to introduce today's performer. Sons of Korah seek to provide an impacting musical journey in the world of the Psalms. I hope you're going to enjoy He Watches Over You, inspired on this occasion by the wonderful 121st Psalm.
does my help come? My help only comes from the Maker of heaven, from the Maker of the earth. And He will not let you fall down. Your feet will be firm to the ground. He watches over you. He will not slumber. It's the Lord who watches Israel, will not sleep. La-di-da-di-da-da-da. La-di-da-di-da-da-da. The Lord watches over you. He is your shade, the shade at your right hand. And even the sun will not harm you by day. The moon will not harm you by night. The Lord watches over your life. And the Lord, He will keep you from harm. He watches over you. He watches over you. Yes, He watches over every step you take. He watches over you. He watches over you. Yes, He watches over every step you take. Both now and forever. Both now and forever.
Keith Garner's new book, A Word for the World, is now available. Dealing with the 4 themes of success, sorrow, society and spirituality, the 16 sermons in this book will definitely inspire and challenge you as you read. The book also includes a DVD featuring interviews with Nick Farr-Jones, Lee Hatcher, Tanya Plibersek and Margaret Somerville. For more information on A Word for the World, please contact us on 9263 5555 or at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
Sons of Korah now celebrating their 20th anniversary, and they've done a CD highlighting live performances from 2004 to today. So you can log on to our Wesley Mission website for all the details and all about them throughout this week. We're back with one of Wesley Mission's general managers, Maria Maxwell. Maria, we've just launched our recent research report into the impact of disability services on both clients and carers in Australia. What were some of the major findings?
I think it was a sobering thought when we actually realised through the research that about a third of Australian households include a person with a disability. And in that, probably about 4.2 million Australians are classified as having a disability.
Just how many?
4.2 million people.
Phenomenal in our small population,
Which is a huge number. And I think even more significantly, moving on from that, is the fact that about 2.7 million people are actually caring for someone with a disability, and 29% of those are the primary carer. So through this research, we really had a renewed understanding of the huge and significant challenges that carers are facing as well. And I think that that's important to take stock of, because often when you're caring for someone with a disability, a lot of things are impacted in your life. The other children in the family are impacted. People's sense of satisfaction with life and happiness and well-being is impacted. And often their career choices are also impacted, so they'll take on a less stressful role, a role that has less hours. And this sort of commitment doesn't have an end date for many of them. That's the really sobering thought, is that sometimes it is for their entire life that they have these care responsibilities.
And people are living longer, and no longer are we talking, if those figures are right, and we believe they are from the research, we're no longer talking about the one person down our street that is facing this kind of challenge. It would be hardly any of us wouldn't know somebody who is facing that kind of challenge. So how does, if this is the case, how does the way Wesley Mission delivers its service differ from other people? I think that point of differentiation is an important one for us to try to communicate.
I think that's right. I think what Wesley Mission does that's different is they have a holistic approach to the services that they provide. And so it is very much about the whole life cycle of a person, starting from the children's respite through to the life skills program, moving then into our community living programs where we help people with a disability to stay in their own homes. Within our life skills program...
Tell us a bit about that, because at life skills, what is it about?
Well, life skills provides a variety of different options for people with a disability. They might want to learn a new skill. They might be interested in transitioning to work, for example, or they may simply be looking for some social networking opportunities, just to get out there in the community, to have fun, to meet other people. Just the normal day-to-day experiences that sometimes we take for granted are often really challenging when you have a profound disability, and perhaps when you're in some ways trapped in your own home. And
let me just ask if I can, because this is really important. At the moment, we've been listening to a lot of conversations about the National Disability Insurance Scheme, and both the past Labour government and the present Liberal government have said that this is something that they're committed to. What difference is that going to make to people and to the way we deliver services?
I think it'll make a significant difference in that people will have real choices about what services they access, but they'll also have different responsibilities because they will then have a package of funds that they need to be responsible for. And so they'll have to be very careful about what services that they buy in and making sure that they can actually afford those services. So it will be a very different approach for the people themselves with a disability and their carers, and it will be different for our services in that they will need to become more flexible, and we'll be very much looking at servicing the individual and looking at what that person's package looks like and how we can actually help them to be supported within that package.
Look, you clearly are on top of that. I mean, are you passionate about delivering these services?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think we're dealing with the most vulnerable, the most disadvantaged people in our community, and they deserve our best. And I think Wesley Mission is exceptionally well placed to deliver the best to them. And like I said, the diversity of services that we provide, the quality of staff, the passion, commitment of our people, and very much the values of the organisation align so well to make that something that would work very well.
And as we close, look, it's so wonderful because Jesus was about these things, about meeting people at their point of need. It's always good to meet senior staff that share that passion. Maria, thank you for coming along, and thank you for your team too, that are very much a part of delivering those services. We'll be sharing with you just one of our client stories right after this message.
It's been 200 years since the first Methodists met in Australia. To celebrate 2 centuries of faith and pioneering care, CEO and presenter Reverend Dr. Keith Garner takes us back to where it all began.
But we don't begin here at the heart of London. We begin in a town in the north of England.
In this fascinating narrative, Reverend Garner chronicles the history of the life and times of the founder of Methodism, John Wesley. This fresh and thought-provoking documentary takes us on a journey throughout the United Kingdom, beginning in John Wesley's hometown of Epworth.
John Wesley was born here on the 17th of June, 1703.
This 1-hour DVD travels onto his education years and beginnings of social justice in Oxford, to his final years in London. For more information on John Wesley, the man and his mission, call 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
At Wesley Mission, our aim is to ensure that people with a disability are valued, accepted and empowered and enabled to grow as members of the community. Wesley Disability Services understands that carers need a break too. This is part 1 of Stuart and Alison's story. Let's take a look together.
We got married in 1969, 1970, 1971. 1972, 1973, 1974, 1975, 1976, 1977, 1978, 1979, 1980, 1981, 1982, 1983, 1984, 1985, 1986, 1987, 1988, 1989, 1990, 1991, 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995, 1996, 1997, 1998, 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030, 2031, 2032, 2033, 2034, 2035, 2036, 2037, 2038, 2039, 2040, 2041, 2042, 2043, 2044, 2045, 2046, 2047, 2048, 2049, 2050, 2051, 2052, 2053, 2054, 2055, 2056, 2057, 2058, 2059, 2060, 2061
November 2005, Kangaroo Valley Golf Course. Finney was born in 16th of December the following year.
I remember when Finn was born, we felt like we'd won the lottery, and to us he was perfect, you know. And then as he was developing, he wasn't developing quite typically.
He's got very poor
Gross motor skills. He's very unsteady on his feet. He has seizures. He has sort of moderate developmental delay. And we were told, me being 7 months pregnant with Maxwell, that there was a probability that it may happen again. We tried to remain positive that lightning wouldn't strike us again, but it struck, and it struck harder than what we could have ever imagined. Maxie did in fact have the same condition as what Finn has, plus he was diagnosed with biliocardial syndrome. It's always full on. From the moment we wake up sort of at 5:30, 4:45, it's full on till the time we go to bed, which is, you know, I don't know, 10, 11,
10:30, 11,
and then we'll get woken up, you know, at 2 and 4, and yeah, sleep deprivation's a big thing. We started out, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Average, and now, you know, average is what we aspire to be. You know, if we could just be have an average day or a normal day, that would be our dream. It's okay. I get very jealous of Stu going to work. I think, geez, I'd love to just be able to jump in the car and go to work. It would be 1,000 times easier because, you know, you deal with a screaming child for a few hours on end, you're going to go a bit crazy. I remember it very clearly, actually. We were in hospital, and the social worker at the hospital said, "How do you think you're going to go home and cope?" And I went, "I don't know. I don't even know how I'm going to get through the next hour, you know, with 2 special needs children with such high needs." I said, "You know, I don't know." And she said, "Well, there is help out there, Ali, you know." They put in a referral to Wesley for us. And then Wesley came to the house, and they sort of told us everything that they could do. And I said, "Oh, I really don't know if we're really that badly done by." And she looked at me and she said, "Look at you," she said, "nobody else I know needs this as much as you." And I'd hate to think what she was looking at, because I probably hadn't slept for a number of weeks. And I think she was probably looking at a train wreck and said, "Well, let's just give it a go." And I said, "Okay."
When Peter was writing to the Christians scattered throughout Turkey, he knew that things were tough. They were already, or soon would be, facing the challenge of persecution. The salvation gift that God gave us in Christ and gave to his people was one that brought meaning into life despite the problematical circumstances or whatever it was that lay just over the hill. Let me read to you from that first chapter of 1 Peter, actually verses 17 through to 23. "Since you call on a Father who judges each person's work impartially, live out your time as foreigners here in reverent fear. For you know that it is not with perishable things, such as silver or gold, that you were redeemed from the empty way of life handed down to you from your ancestors, but with the precious blood of Christ, a lamb without blemish or defect. He was chosen before the creation of the world, but was revealed in these last times for your sake. Through him you believe in God, who raised him from the dead and glorifies him, and so your faith and hope are in God. Now that you have purified yourselves by obeying the truth, so that you have sincere love for each other, love one another deeply from the heart. For you have been born again, not of perishable seed, but of imperishable, through the living and enduring Word of God." There's a number of things, it seems to me, that follow from this passage that are important. And the first is that God is supremely fair. A Father who judges each person's work impartially. If you've ever grown up with teenagers in the home, you'll remember that moment when somebody says to you, "It ain't fair." Well, life has lots of things in it that are just not fair. But it is an important truth to me to know that God is fair and he deals with people in a way that's totally and utterly fair. We live our life in difficult circumstances. Now, this really applies to these people here. Live out your time as strangers here with reverent fear. This certainly reflected on the situation as it was in those scattered, dispersed churches. There was a sense in which they were feeling like foreigners, strangers in that context. But there's a sense in which we feel that way too at times. We feel that we know our identity with the world is such that we don't belong to this world. There is a sense in which we're all the time claiming our identity and citizenship, which is, as Paul put in another of his letters to the Philippians, our citizenship is in heaven. And we know what it is to belong to him. So live out your time as strangers here with reverent fear. It wasn't with perishable things that we were redeemed. I thought, not silver and gold and by things we make, but by the precious blood of Christ. Oh, this is the costliness of God's grace and love toward us. It was on the cross that God's love was shown supremely in the God who came and lived alongside us, gave his life for us, and in forgiveness and grace from the cross offers us the possibility of a new beginning. The words, the precious blood of Christ, really speak into that deep and profound costliness of God. And the resurrection gives shape to the whole of our witness. So your faith and hope are in God. It's so important, isn't it, that we recognize that the resurrection is not just an event in time. It's more than that. It helps to give shape to our lives, our faith, and everything that makes for our lives. As we read very often in the scriptures, in Colossians and elsewhere, our lives have been raised with Christ. We're now with Christ in God. And our Christian lives are lived in the realm of God's desire for accountability. All of us know that we have to one day give an account for the lives we live. And that accountability is struck through all of life. That's what life is about. Now, gratitude is to God, who's acted in Christ and given us something that we could by ourselves never have attained. But this gift makes all the difference. And though we couldn't have attained it by ourselves, he has given it to us. And that gift is such a life-transforming power to a church that was facing all kinds of pressures. To those people at that particular time, this message of hope came. It was a message that would sustain them. It was a message that would enable them to declare the faith and speak to other people. It's a message that by themselves they could never, ever have achieved.
If you would like to know more about today's topic or for more on Keith's message, contact Keith by writing to Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A5555, Sydney South 1235, or email impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
So many thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with Ann-Maree Keith with her Rest in Me. See you next week. Until then, goodbye and God bless you.
Troubles spread, the worried mind, tired eyes stray, then you're flying blind. Up ahead, the road gets rough. I'll be there when you've had enough, 'cause the world will shake when you stand on shifting ground and you're holding up the weight, but your feet are sinking down. The Lord is easier when you let it go, when you know it's me you want, then it's me you'll know. And finally find my arms, a comfort. rest in me.